Harrison Price for Wednesday, July 29th, 2026. Presentation Bet365. At Bet365, boring games a thing of the past. Now, there's always a reason to tune in, even if the score isn't one of them. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Matt Sekeres here alongside Blake Price. Mike Rogerson hitting switches and conducting things. Big show coming up. We ask you, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a like. And, of course, make sure you also subscribe on whatever podcast platform you choose.
It's July 29th, and we can honestly tell you that our entire opening segment is ice hockey, as they call it down south.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually news. We didn't even have to stretch to make it up. We didn't even have to be like, what's your favorite Canuck jersey of all time? We've actually got hockey news here.
Tony Tanny, Ring of Honor? Well, we have gigantic news from a gigantic contract with gigantic implications for North Vancouver's Macklin Celebrini. So let's get to our Nation Gear poll question where we're talking about this. Do you actually believe the Canucks will one day bring home one of the local superstars? That is, of course, North Vancouver's Connor Bedard, North Vancouver's Macklin Celebrini. You can vote yes to both, and wouldn't that be something? Or you can vote neither. Do so at the Sekeres and Price X and YouTube channels. Okay, so here's the news. Celebrini. He signs a contract extension that kicks in next year. It will make him the highest paid player in the National Hockey League by average annual value when it does begin. It's a 5-year term that buys out only one UFA year, making him a 26-year-old pending free agent in 2032. It is also in line with some of the shorter non-max length contracts that hockey players of his order, and that is the top of the heap, have been signing recently. Guys like Austin Matthews, guys like Connor McDavid, although that one's a little bit in its own category. And look, agents are telling them to do this because the cap is going up so much year to year that you don't want to lock yourself in for the 7-year, 8-year max extensions and leave money on the table when the average price or the going rate of a superstar NHLer gets higher and higher year to year. But of course it is most interesting to be a 26-year-old free agent. It also allows them the opportunity, right, to govern where their careers are going to go, which is becoming more and more important.
And in the end, it's still
superstar.
8 years with the Indigenous franchise. It's a good haul. It's not like you're begging out,
No.
like you're certainly not pulling an Eric Lindros, but you're not even doing, the 3 years and out and demanding something.
You are giving your team more than a fair opportunity to construct a championship club around you. And just as a reminder, Connor Bedard did something similar a couple of weeks back. There's the Connor Bedard freight with the Chicago Blackhawks. He signed a 5-year deal worth $15 million per season. I mean, Bedard already is leaving money on the table based on Macklin getting 18.8 as an average annual value. Bedard also buys out some unrestricted free agency, but not a lot. He'll be an unrestricted free agent summer of 2031, with Macklin Celebrini an unrestricted free agent the year after.
He will be the third highest paid player in salary behind Carlson and Kaprizov when his contract kicks in. 19.1 for Kaprizov, who will be the highest paid player in that year.
Unless a contract comes around that usurps it. We are talking about not this coming season, but the following season for Macklin.
And then it'll be Carlson at 19 mil, 18.8 for Macklin Celebrini. I think he's going to be okay.
Yep.
I'm going to answer yes, Bedard.
I thought you might go there.
Because I think Macklin Celebrini, is going to feel the old school loyalty hockey guy mentality more than Bedard will. And I also think he's in a better situation where if they're like a perennial contender at the end of this contract, is he going to walk away from that for a Canucks team that is likely, I mean, both things go tickety-boo, they're a playoff team then, but they likely won't be as close a contender as the San Jose Sharks are currently tracking towards. So I think Macklin probably feels the pull to do what Connor McDavid just did, and that is sign maybe a little itty-bitty contract, see if I can win a cup with the team that I've devoted my life to. I could see Macklin doing that path, but Bedard, I don't know, Chicago still seems a bit of a mess, and he just seems a little bit more, and I don't mean, I said this, I think me and Jeff Patterson talked about this, I don't mean this to sound like one guy's got a character flaw versus, I think Connor Bedard's just a little bit more business-like, I think, than Macklin is in terms of the touchy-feelies. So I think Bedard would say, no, I'm ready to move on.
One thing that we have to remember with Celebrini is that San Jose is home, too.
He spent a lot of years there.
His father, Rick, who once worked for the Vancouver Canucks, physiotherapist to the Stars, has been working with the Golden State Warriors for a number of years now. The family moved down to the California Bay Area. That is where Macklin has spent a good portion of his
Rick's 64 at the end of this contract. So is Rick ready to, full-time, 12-month a year back in Vancouver at that point?
And I don't know if the Celebrini family, because Macklin has three siblings, if including little RJ and, of course, Aiden, who's a Canucks draft pick. I don't know. His sister's a very good tennis player, too. So I don't know if there's a world where any of the Celebrinis, if the Celebrini family continues on in Northern California, if and when Rick is done working for the Warriors, or if it's, full-scale move back to the Lower Mainland, Vancouver. I'm with you in terms of I believe in Sharks ownership and management more than I believe in Blackhawks ownership and management. Now, Chicago has a bunch of good young prospects. Like if Anton Frondel pops and all of a sudden you're looking at a 1-2 punch of Frondel and Bedard down the middle, like there's a lot of time here. There's a lot of time for both of these franchises to turn into, contenders for the Stanley Cup. And heck, some of us are old enough to remember a day where Canucks, Blackhawks, Sharks, that was the top of the West, right? Like those were the three teams vying.
And if Frank Nazar finds another gear, they do get better for sure.
Yeah. So I understand where you're coming from with that. I'm tempted to vote neither just because, it is... It's wishful.
That's the next vote for me is neither.
Yes. It's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
But before we go down that road, let me do the glass half full optimistic route. Star players of this ilk are more and more across sports governing the direction of their career.
That's right.
We have seen NBA style super teams pretty much engineered by LeBron James and his agent, Rich Paul. I think there is reason to believe you are going to see that phenomenon come to the National Hockey League over the course of these next 5 or 6 years while these two are still under contract. It might be incredibly normal or seem flavor of the day 5-6 years from now, Blake, to have this sort of thing happening in the National Hockey League. Now, it's a little harder to do in hockey, right? It's a bigger roster, and you have to leave enough cap room to be able to fill it out with 18 good skaters and 2 good goaltenders to be able to compete for championships. A little different in the NBA where LeBron can look around and say, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh are in Miami already. I'm going to head down to Miami as well. And then we've got 3 superstars, and then That gives us a very, very good chance of winning titles, which, of course, they did. So in terms of the chemistry here and putting together a super team with the Vancouver Canucks, with these two local boys, I think that's going to be the flavor of the day in 5 or 6 years in the NHL.
Well, and remember, rubber really hits the road for Bedard in 5 years' time. And in 4 years' time for him, pardon me.
I was just going to say, yeah.
In 4 years' time, because he's actually just entering the first year of this 5-year deal, but his no-move clause is really the stop sign for the Blackhawks. So in 4 short years, the Blackhawks have to come to a decision that is even more ominous than what the Canucks had with Quinn Hughes, I think, in that they're thinking we just cannot get past July 1st into the final year because then we're really screwed. We can't trade him at all. In a lot of ways, you could almost interpret Bedard's deal as a 4-year contract extension.
Fair. Now, what I will say is, and that could go either way as well, either good or bad news. Because if they're trading him in a free marketplace, understand the Vancouver Canucks are going to have to give up sun, moon, and stars to get this player. Right? Secondly, if they trade him elsewhere, that team is going to have the opportunity to make its impression.
That's right.
And sign the player, Bedard in this case.
And presumably to a good team. Presumably to a good team.
One would think.
So
one would think.
If he goes on a Stanley Cup run, maybe 2 of them, because if he gets traded at the deadline of 2030, it's the rest of that year, and it's all of 2031.
That's right.
Then
it's kind of what Quinn Hughes is, the boat Quinn Hughes is in now, right? Like he joined a darn good team in Minnesota.
And he's getting swept up in the atmosphere there.
Okay, they didn't get to a cup final or even a conference final. But it's a darn good team. In a strong hockey market with good young players.
Ticks a lot of boxes for him.
Absolutely. It's in the U.S. Okay, maybe it's not with his brothers. Maybe it's not in a tax-free jurisdiction. But, and of course, he hasn't signed the extension.
Nope.
But if you were to tell me between now and next year's trade deadline that Quinn Hughes signs an extension with the Minnesota Wild, I wouldn't be shocked. I still think he's trying to play this out. I still think the brothers thing would be where I put my nickel right now. Mm-hmm. And that ultimately this ends with Quinn becoming a New Jersey Devil somehow, some way. But Minnesota has a lot of runway left here still.
And New Jersey has shown themselves to be a little bit inept, and they've had regime change. Yeah. And Jack Hughes might be saying, you know what, I'll come to you.
Well, I think Sonny Mehta is very, very respected, and I think he's going to ultimately do a good job in New Jersey. But you're right, Blake. The damage might already be done there because the Devils were not well run under Tom Fitzgerald. So that's the good news. There is a very low probability, I think, that either of these guys gets to unrestricted free agency and signs with the Canucks. It's possible, but you just don't see a whole lot of that with the hockey star, right?
No.
And also, they tend to like to have the next contract ready to go when they're in the final one. A, because of the distraction and the noise and the questions and all that shit, but it secures your financial future, right? There's also a line of thought if your agent who doubles as a financial advisor. No. You sign the contract the summer before your contract expires. The next one, the extension before your contract expires. Because if you go out and destroy a knee, this, that, any kind of physical harm, okay, sure, there's some insurance provisions there, but you want all that money waiting for you.
Of course, if there is a scenario where they're still trying to sign Bedard, it gets past July 1st. Maybe even the season starts. They still don't have a contract extension. The Blackhawks would be forced to go to the Canucks and say, listen, he says he wants to go to you.
Yeah.
We know we're only dealing with you, so the price is...
But it's still a hefty trade price.
Yeah, it's
anyway you look
below
at
market value, but yes.
Well, and especially if you're having to come up with 2 of those prices, Blake, to get both of these players.
Right. No, It's too complicated on the other side of the ledger.
Yes. Now, they're local kids. They spend their summers here. See the training videos before Bedard hurt his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
We know NHL players don't like to move their stuff, live and work in the same city 12 months a year.
Got to get my stuff.
Great place to be in the summer, as everybody knows. And, we've talked about it on this show before. There is a tie to British Columbia for the native and raised British Columbians that is as strong or stronger than just about any jurisdiction out there. Vancouver is a very hard place to see in the rear view mirror. I had a friend from out of town last week. He's thought about Vancouver as his next destination for him and his wife. He texted me upon landing and said, "Just so you know, I've booked an Airbnb for 3 months next year. I plan to give it a test drive." That's just after being here for a week. Now here's the glass half empty. This owner is a problem. These players would be well aware. And I don't just mean he's a problem in terms of the refusal to rebuild, some of the headlines that you read about him and his family, but also now the capitalization of this owner vis-a-vis the other owners in the National Hockey League. Only team without a practice facility or plans for a practice facility unless this Britannia thing gets announced. Remember, Britannia was supposed to have. Boy, I sure hope Britannia is still happening. 5 years on, Rogers Arena will be an even more antiquated building than what it is. Right?
Yep.
I mean, they've done a reasonable job.
The new chairs might even be showing their age.
The new chairs look great. They've done a reasonable job in renovating around the arena. But in the next 5 years, the new rink opens in Calgary. Perhaps other new rinks will open. Other rinks will be even spruced up more. Rogers' Arena is going to start looking more and more like, Joe Louis Arena was at one point. The Saddle Dome was at one point. One of the older arenas in the National Hockey League that doesn't have all the bells, whistles, space, and everything that players in other
small.
Yeah.
Just so small. Now there is this. First, as we jump into
the other thing is, players of this ilk, they don't tend to want an interventionist owner who wants to hang out and be buddies and have dinner in Yaletown.
Probably not. Into the chat on YouTube, Andrew, I think aliens are more likely than us getting either of them. To which Mike Rogerson says, Polymarket as aliens pretty probable, actually.
That's true.
And then
the truth is out there.
And then J-Lo in the chat too. You guys are forgetting we have Aiden. And, Aiden is a long shot to be an NHL player. But you bring up an interesting point, J-Lo. Develop the hell out of Aiden Celebrini, because if he is an NHL player, if you can make him an NHL player, that does become a dangling carrot. Yes, absolutely.
Aiden is, through his junior year at Boston University, a 6th-round pick, 171 overall of the Canucks in the 2023 entry draft. Here's what I will say. If Aiden doesn't make it as a pro hockey player, hire Aiden to be in your front office in some capacity, right?
Yeah. Or the broadcast, because we know he's a great talker.
Oh, great talker.
Yeah.
We've had him on the show. So, it's a good point, whoever the...
J-Lo.
J-Lo. Thank you, J-Lo. Because familial ties, good bond. Very, very good bond. Here are the highest annual average values in the NHL after Macklin's huge deal. Mike's got the visual here, if I'm not mistaken. So as Blake mentioned, you got Celebrini at 18.8 when it kicks in. You got Carlson at 18. You have Kaprizov at 17, Bedard at 15. Then you get into your guys who have signed previously, right? Draisaitl, Eichel, Matthews.
And again, Kaprizov on salary leaps to first.
In actual dollars.
He's front end loaded for money here. So.
Yeah, in actual dollars in hand. That is correct. Boy, Connor McDavid. 12.5.
How crazy are those bottom two side by side?
Yeah, big McDavid and Byram, same player, basically.
Yeah, let's remember, Cranbrook's Bowen Byram got 6 by 12.5 from the Blackhawks, who gave up a 3rd overall pick. Or sorry, what was the pick again? Was it 4th overall?
I don't remember. remember.
Yeah, it was 4th overall. It was the pick right after the
Yes. Yeah.
Canucks, right, to get him.
Yeah.
Okay, so, look, the most likely outcome is neither. Gun to my head, I'm voting neither.
Yeah.
God, I sure would love to vote C, yes, both.
I think we've done a good job of saying you can argue all 4 of the points.
I think you can.
You can argue all 4 of them.
But I'm with you that Macklin as a standalone is probably the least likely.
You're right. Both is probably higher than just Macklin.
Oh, it's possible. Yeah.
Because bringing Connor in might help bring in Macklin.
Then there's that.
If you can
Pied
afford
Piper.
both of them, you'd have to be able to do that.
And the other thing I'll say is, like we talked about, if you have to trade for both of these guys, it's going to be incredibly expensive. But, hey, the Canucks have 5 years of asset harvesting here. That's what a rebuild is.
Yep.
You harvest as many young assets and draft picks as you can. We've talked about it. Sometimes the front end of the rebuild, you're drafting a kid high, and you're thinking, oh, he's a franchise pillar. He's going to be here for, the brighter days. But you get to the point where you move that player on. So just keep on keeping on, Ryan Johnson and the Twins, harvesting these assets, these first-round picks, even future first-round picks. They've got value, too.
That's why you keep Bouillon and Landon DuPont, because you peel one of them to get one of those guys.
Down the road. Welcome to the Nation Network's first limited edition collection. This is a new era of Nation gear, partnering with Levelwear to elevate the apparel you know and love. Bring your premium quality pieces, new styles, versatile collections designed for life beyond game day. It is the off-season social club, a collection built for the sports between sports. From polos and premium tees to hoodies and hats, elevated everyday essentials, every piece is designed with the quality, comfort, and performance to take you from the golf course to the patio, weekend trips, everywhere in between, because being a sports fan isn't just a season, it's a lifestyle. Visit nationgear.ca and follow Nation Gear on social. Subscribe to the newsletter. Be the first to shop new collections, exclusive drops, and everything still to come. Let's get to our top story. It's brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Yellow Dog Spirits, and Foolish Winery. The Stanley Cup playoffs. They're going streaming.
Most people don't know that movie anymore, I don't think.
Come on, it's a Will Ferrell movie. It's a Will Ferrell line.
It's one of my favorites.
He's got a new show.
Yes.
Not on Prime. On the other one.
Yes.
Plays golfer. Prime Video has secured the exclusive rights to select Stanley Cup playoff series in Canada. They get 2 first-round series and 1 second-round series per year for the next 12 years. They also get the Wednesday night games next year in Canada. You may remember it's been Mondays these last couple of years. It will now be Wednesday games, so you can look at that Canucks schedule and say, oh, okay, some of those games are going to wind up being on Amazon Prime, and I've got to either purchase Amazon Prime, or if you're like our family and you have someone in the family who just orders a ton of stuff off Amazon to begin with, they throw in Prime for free. In fact, a buddy of mine in town this weekend says, I think Prime is the best deal, because I'm buying some stuff on Prime and they just throw me the streaming service. It's a pretty big catalog, too. I will say that. The depths of the Amazon Prime catalog, I find also, I'm generally interested in a lot of things, but I find all sorts of fascinating content on there. Here's the thing, though. The Stanley Cup playoffs thing is big, because as much as some people who don't want to purchase Prime, don't want to further their investments, maybe you're a cable subscriber, maybe you're cable and Netflix, maybe you have other streaming services, maybe you're just death by 1,000 cuts, sick of it, all the different fees you're spending monthly on memberships and whatnot. It's one thing to miss a Wednesday night game in the regular season, but a playoff series?
And down the stretch games, too, yeah.
A playoff series? And if you're wondering why it's 12 years, well, that is the tenure of this new national rights deal. This is Rogers Sportsnet, Rogers Communications Inc., or Rogers Sports and Media, farming out part of the national package to Amazon Prime for a second straight rights deal. Here's how it's going to go down with regards to Stanley Cup playoff series and who winds up where. And Mike Rogerson has the visual here, and we will get into this for all of you who are not on visual platforms. So what happens is Sportsnet and Prime will conduct a draft to decide which platform broadcasts which series before each round. Before the first round, Sportsnet will pick 3 series. Then Prime Video will choose 2, and Sportsnet will broadcast the remaining 3. Another draft will occur prior to the second round. Sportsnet will select 2 series, then Amazon Prime will choose between the remaining 2, and the unselected series will wind up on Sportsnet. Now, if you are a Vancouver Canucks fan and your team is in the first round of the playoffs,
you will be one of those 3.
Dare to dream here.
You will be one of those 3.
You will almost certainly be one of those 3 because Sportsnet understands the biggest television audiences they have are in the biggest Canadian markets. If the Leafs are in, they will always be the first selection. If the Habs are in, they will certainly be amongst the top 3, and the Canucks would be the other selection.
The doomsday scenario is Connor McDavid re-signs at Edmonton, and in 4 years' time, the Canucks are making their re-entry into the playoffs. Connor's still in Edmonton, still contending, and the Habs and Leafs are in the playoffs as well. That would be interesting.
I still think the Canucks would be selected over the Habs because so much of their audience, of course, is French language, not English language.
That would be interesting. And then Prime would gleefully take on the Montreal Canadiens.
Now, if you're a Jets fan, if you're a Flames fan, if you're a Senators fan, there is a very real possibility in a postseason down the road here that is Canadian heavy and missing Canadian on Canadian matchups in the first round, that your first round series could be on Prime.
Yeah.
The second round's pretty interesting too, Blake, in a scenario where a multitude of Canadian teams make it, right?
Yeah, if there's 4 or 5 Canadian teams in the first round, you got a decent chance that 3 make it to the second.
Yeah, and at which point, then again, and remember, when you think of Prime, you got to think of it in terms of Canada. This is only on the Canadian side of the border that Prime has.
Yeah, so they're not catering to anything else.
If Prime was catering to a U.S. audience, they would almost never pick a Canadian team, so you would have not much to worry about here. But it's just on the Canadian side of the ledger that for now, Prime Video is doing this, which means they got to service the Canadian audience.
An interesting wrinkle, and is McDavid leaves, and he joins the Canadian market, but it would still be a very high interest to Canadians wherever he goes. And if Macklin Celebrini just ends up being the best player in the league, do Sharks games become of interest to Amazon Prime as well? That might be the case.
Yeah. I mean, I think if McDavid leaves Edmonton for a Canadian market, it has to be Toronto, right? His hometown.
If he's going Canadian, yes.
I guess there's an outside chance of the Habs with all their history because their window right now and his window seem to match up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But if he goes to Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Now, look, Blake and I have talked about this a million times. The distribution world is changing. You have so many, especially young people, who have been cord cutters or who have lived their entire lives blissfully without any cable subscriptions, that they are solely streaming at home, that, yes, they are subscribers to a service or two here or there. We're seeing the distribution world change across just about everything, whatever we saw a change in the radio world, right? Mm-hmm. Even recently. So, look, the English Premier League fan in Canada has known this for more than 10 years. You can still get an English Premier League game on cable on NBC on Saturday or Sunday morning, because NBC has the American rights, and if you're a cable subscriber and you have NBC, which is generally in every cable package, you can still watch a Premier League match on the weekend. But if you want to watch the whole fleet of English Premiership, the Monday night games, the Friday night games, the double triple headers through the weekend, you have had to be on streaming for a decade. We're talking to an old friend, our old colleague Karen Thompson at the radio station. Her father, Howard, massive West Ham fan, East London guy. And when it moved to streaming, I was like, are you going to be able to watch your team? And he said, yep, follow the instruction. I'm on to streaming now. This forced me to get onto streaming because I wanted to follow.
And there were some holdouts. Team. I think Bundesliga was on Sportsnet for a minute, and La
Bundesliga
Liga was on TSN up until a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and they both left too.
It wasn't the Premiership. I mean, hell, even Champions League, right?
Yeah.
So this has been a thing for fans of other sports for a long time. It's been a thing for NFL fans south of the line. You're lucky if you're an NFL fan in Canada and don't want to move to streaming, you're cool. And you're cool because Bell Media via CTV and TSN, the rights deal in Canada, they get every single NFL standalone game. That includes the games that are on Netflix. That includes the games that are on Prime. That includes even the playoff games that are streaming only in the United States. But the football fans south of the line, they want to watch all those Christmas Day games, all those late season standalone games, and it's even proliferating more of the schedule as we go here. They've had to get the different streaming services or get themselves to a household or bar that has those streaming services. So it's only going to get more difficult, everybody, at least in the near term. This guy has long talked about, can we just have an aggregator catch-all streaming service where I sign up and I just get all of it under one roof?
We've started to see things like Fubo's brought together a bunch of stuff, but it's still not the complete package.
Comprehensive is going to be tough. And, of course, if that was the only complication, we get it. Some people would be upset about that and only that. But there's a further complication. Sportsnet Plus is getting more expensive. People were really upset about Sportsnet Plus getting more expensive. Then they learn they're not getting the Wednesday games on Sportsnet Plus, and they're not getting all the playoff games.
Now, it's a wash because they had Monday games, so it's just moved the day of the week. But the playoffs that's actually fewer games.
Here's Jay Fresh. Awesome. When I paid the price rise for Sportsnet Plus, I was really hoping to get access to even fewer games.
And you will. 2 playoff series worth of fewer games on Sportsnet Plus.
Here's the Dauber Pro.
I should say, I bet you on Sportsnet Plus, I don't know this 100%. This would be interesting because they often play the co-chair games as well on Sportsnet Plus. They might be visible on both.
Okay.
But with the Amazon Prime, it'll be the Amazon broadcast. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. Dauber Hockey. 1 year later, and Sportsnet is at it again. I think I've reached my limit with these clowns. Still no Roku, still dropping feeds. Price is now double what it was 3 years ago. Yeah, it's up to $300 and some for Sportsnet Plus for the year.
That is an
and you're up to like $400 with the tax. Yeah.
Like when you look at what the movie streaming services have.
Oh, my.
You know what their costing is, and then you go to sports, and it's hundreds per year.
If you're okay with the ads, what's Netflix a month? It's like $8 or something like that.
No, I think it's up to 12 or something like that. But still, we're talking about 144 bucks a year.
Like less than half the cost of Sportsnet Plus. And that's with a full Rogers Center for Blue Jays games. Imagine what happens if they get half the crowds they're accustomed to getting here over the last couple of years. Alas, that is the news. And, of course, none of this happens without the National Hockey League's blessing. So this is as much a corporate pathway that Gary Bettman and the owners are willing to go down as much as Sportsnet. Now, some were surprised that TSN didn't get back into the game. I had heard conflicting information on the Bell Media TSN side.
I had heard very confident information that this was going to happen. Very confident.
On the one hand, I had heard people, and granted this came from inside of Bell Media, and I think there was a whole lot of optimism there, that because Sportsnet has so much debt, and because Sportsnet had, and Rogers had shown, Rogers has the debt, not Sportsnet, the parent. Because Sportsnet had shown an eagerness to farm out some of the national package, that they just had too much and were willing to move some of it off of their dials and off of their platforms to others for the right price, that this was a scenario that would attract TSN and Bell Media back into the ball game. In fact, I have friends over there who thought absolutely this was going to happen. I had other people, and Jonas Siegel, who covers the Canadian sports media market, has been saying for a while, no, Bell and TSN are not getting back into this business. And for the reasons that we talked about 12 years ago when the NHL rights first went from Bell Media and TSN to Sportsnet. The intervening 12 years has taught the Bell accountants TSN can do just fine without its single biggest line item, the NHL national rights package.
I had heard this package almost identically relayed to me as the one that TSN was thinking that they were going to get.
Well, that stands to reason
including playoffs.
That Sportsnet was looking to move out the Wednesday night game and the 2 playoff series in the first round. And the
what I'd grown to learn was that Amazon was still going to keep its piece, but it was going to be remaining a fragmented piece, and that TSN would take not the. I mean, I don't know that TSN bothers wading back into this for a day of the week and no playoffs, and it's certainly. The playoffs scenario seems done.
Maybe that's where it broke down, or maybe it was just wishful thinking from the sports guys inside TSN in the Bell Media empire.
Or maybe it just took a left turn.
I think Bell, for some time has looked at it and said, we don't have to spend the sort of money on sports programming that we were spending. Especially if we want to continue paying that dividend for BC shareholders.
Well, I think they thought they were going to get it on a deal, and it obviously didn't happen. Jake with a super chat. Thank you, Jake. Jake from the Windy City, it says, with a Hawks logo, so he might indeed be in Chicago. We in North America can learn from the UK. It's mandated by law to air sports, including the World Cup, on free linear TV. That's why it's still on CBC and that's BBC. Pardon me, and that's why remember the demise of no hockey night in Canada this year.
That's right.
There is no over-the-air NHL hockey.
Yeah,
I mean over-the-air is pretty slim, pretty niche audience now. But even basic cable, it's you're down to a few games, couple games a week now on basic cable. Wow. That's interesting. I don't know the ins and outs of the English rule, but it is a big departure from what even 10 years ago.
And I hear what Jake is saying. I mean, give me a World Cup final with the legendary and late John Motson on the microphone on the BBC. I can understand the charm, the romanticism, the history, and all of that. It's a dog-eat-dog business world. Yeah. These are all these decisions, all of this is happening because of commercial considerations for media companies that, let's face it, are in an absolute freaking whirlwind and have been for the better part of a quarter century, and with a very, very difficult future to read. Projecting media revenues year to year, Blake, in these environments has gotten a lot more difficult. Like, I've had a lot of business analysts, media analysts say to me over the years, like, the problem with Bell and Rogers and some of these companies is they don't have a revenue problem. They have a forecasting problem. Like, their senior execs and whatnot sit in a room and go, okay, well, Bell Media is going to make us this much this year, or the media division of Rogers is going to make us this much this year. And then when it falls short, they go, oh, my God, we fell short. We have to cut.
Well,
as opposed to just sort of being a little more reasonable, a little more conservative in the forecasting of what the revenues will be. But when they're out there talking to partners and saying, we're expecting this out of the media division, and it falls short, and then they start getting the tough questions from the financial analysts, that puts them in a difficult spot. And that's when they feel like they have to go to the balance sheet. What do we cut?
well, they're also not very elastic. Like they don't for two companies that deal with technology. They seem surprisingly blind to it in a lot of ways.
It's extraordinary. It is
Like,
absolutely extraordinary.
and for
I mean, I thought at this stage of the game, TSN would have a podcast empire. They don't. Like the 650 shows, they weren't on YouTube.
they were, and then they weren't.
Yeah, what are you
They're
doing
backwards.
there? What are you doing there?
Now, I don't know that I can listen much longer, though, to people lamenting no hockey on over the air and no hockey on cable because, the internet is just the internet now. Like everything is on the internet now.
I get it.
It's like looking for parts for a Motorola StarTAC. Like we've moved on.
Yeah.
Like it's just not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
So we've got to come to grips with that.
There's still a blacksmith or two out there because there are still horses that need shoes, but most of the blacksmiths went.
Pretty limited.
Yeah. No, Blake, I get it. I understand it. I sympathize. Frankly, I find myself with them. But I know you have to adapt. Change is something we all have to do.
Like we shouldn't be trying to hold on to AM radio. Like AM radio, like they should be moving it. You should be moving it. But AM radio, like itself, no, we should not be. It's a terrible product.
I love my talk radio. I found myself listening to more NW and CBC since Sportsnet and News 1130 went down. But
at the very least, those AM stations should go FM.
Yeah.
FM stations are abandoning too. So those like, why isn't there
Move
an
it on to the
FM
better
talk?
frequency?
Why isn't there such thing as FM talk?
Well, there is, but it's
very limited.
Talk radio developed on the AM dial, and it's just dogma, right?
Yeah, it's dogma.
Yeah, change. We're all subject to change.
Like I would argue, Matt.
Like my dad's a numbers guy. He used to sit there and freehand do his taxes, everybody's in the family's taxes, the business taxes. Like February, March were his sit down at the table and freehand do all the taxes
with a cramped
for
hand.
Revenue Canada.
Yes.
Then they moved it online. A few weeks ago, taught my mother how to pay a bill on her banking app. She goes, that's it? It's done? That's it. It's done. Oh, that's a whole lot easier. Yeah. Some of the change is good. Some of it does facilitate our lives.
But sports talk on FM
in this world,
any talk on FM, facilitated. I think it prolongs it because people hearing like nice sounds, like the full sound.
Yeah. At least they're still Yellow Dog. And shout out to Sophie.
Mm-hmm.
We go into a tavern the other day. I have some out of towners here.
Mm-hmm.
It's up on Broadway. I know one of the barkeeps. I go, yeah, I'll take the Yellow Dog. She goes, don't have that at the moment. I go, oh, that's too bad. She goes, I know, chase my tail. I go, yep. She goes, that's my go-to as well. We get to talking. Sure enough, she worked there at the Port Moody tasting room. She knows all her friends, Mike and John and Brad and Dan, the whole Yellow Dog crew.
But you all know about Chase My Tail too. So I'm going to tell you about something different from Neighborhood Brewing. The High Key Tangerine and Pineapple IPA. It's not even a sour here. We're talking about an IPA. It's bursting with tangerine, pineapple, and tropical energy. It's backed by the bold trio of Crush, Nectaron, and HBC 1019 hops. So technical. Speaking of technology, it's dripping in citrus and Sweet Island vibes. This isn't just another IPA. It's your main character moment in a can. Wow. Spielberg writing the right.
Canucks prospects at World Junior Summer Showcase. Oh, look at how beautiful this graphic is. From Mark Masters, Braden Coots centering your first line between Ethan Belchetz and Cameron Schmidt, the former Vancouver Giant, and Caleb Malhotra centering the second line for Team Canada. That's Brady Martin, the 5th overall pick in the draft in 2025 on his right wing, a natural center. No, you're moving over for Caleb. That's one of the Canadian groups there. They play Sweden tonight at the World Junior Summer Showcase. Meanwhile, Coots has spoken to reporters there in Windsor. Quote, "The bronze isn't good enough. It's a huge motivation." He talked about anticipating a leadership role on this team. He's, of course, a returning player, in part because he's from suburban Edmonton. Edmonton and Red Deer are hosting this tournament. He said, quote, "It really doesn't get any better than that."
It's pretty cool. Pinch yourself, Canuck fans. I mean, if you can make that actually happen in December, it's gonna be a fun tournament. Like,
yeah,
and you know what?
It's Edmonton in December, but bring your woolies.
Good pressure on those kids. Like that's again, if they trot out Coots and Malhotra 1-2 down the middle, like exciting. But also nerve-wracking if you're a Canucks fan.
Look, that's not set in stone. Cole Leschny, the Calgary Flames draft pick, former Victoria Royal, is vying. I suspect he'll play a load of minutes in the middle as well. And it is Edmonton in December, so bring your woolies. But traditionally, the Alberta cities have done an exceptional job with supporting this tournament.
Too much though. Like they've been asked to do
they've
this
done
way
a lot.
too
I'm surprised
much.
they're going back there. Frankly.
I can't believe it.
More good news here. Here's Stephen Ellis. He's watching the power play practices. Who's in the bumper? Sorry. No, that's the lineups. Mike, next one from Masters as well. Mark Masters had this as well. There's Ellis. Here we go. Here are the power plays. Who's in the bumper? Caleb Malholtra's in the bumper. When they go to the other unit, who's in the bumper? Braden Coots is in the bumper.
Yeah. Very interesting.
And that's with Reshny on a flank there, too, on that first unit. Daxon Rudolph as your power play quarterback. Brady Martin as the net front guy. That's the young Jilkin kid who's a 2027 draft eligible. And that's a name that Vancouver Canucks fans should remember. Mm-hmm. Also working on one of the upper power play units. So, I love the World Juniors. I look forward to it each and every year. Canada has to do better than what it has done recently, and I do wonder whether this is going to be the group that gets it done and wins gold on home ice. And then again, what a hell of a story that'll be for Canucks fans who can dive right in knowing the top 2 prospects in the organization will likely be playing significant roles on this club.
And success of the World Juniors doesn't mean you've got a superstar in your hands. I was looking up Bo Horvat's year. Anthony Mantha led that team in scoring by a fair margin.
I think he terrified all those other teenagers, and so they just stayed away.
Connor
from
McDavid
him.
Was on that team and only had 4 points in the tournament.
Was he 13?
Yeah,
14?
exactly, something like that. But but hey, Mantha's a player, nevertheless, and I think it doesn't hurt to have a player go through that rigmarole and that test. So should be a lot of fun.
And lastly, I asked you this July 1st, I believe. We are now nearly August 1st. 3 Vancouver Canucks from last year's team, who played a significant amount of games, still do not have NHL contracts, including Vancouver's Evander Kane.
We're a long way from this.
P.O. Joseph and Derek Forbert are the other.
We're a long way from this, but Jeff Patterson and I used to remark that the Canucks led the league in players that would play 70-plus games for them and then be out of the league the following year. Yep. Year after year, the Willie Desjardins era, They would trust a player to play over 70 games with them, and the next year they would not be NHL players anymore. Might they be returning to those days?
Please no. Please no. But I do wonder. I think Evander Kane is going to have to settle for a PTO.
Yeah, and
might
even
be different. I'm sure Dan Milstein is working every team, and there might be a team that gives him a 1-year deal there, but I would not be surprised.
I think there's a chance, though, he doesn't. Still, that's not enough, though, Matt, that he does not make it back to the league next year. I think that's a possibility.
All right. Let's get to our menu. It's brought to you by our friends at Greta. A fantastic spot to pregame or postgame. You were mere steps from the arena or the stadium. It is also an outstanding spot for your next group outing. And I'm just thinking aloud here, but there are fantasy football drafts that are coming up. You need space. You're going to want to do it with beer, right?
It's a big
You're
draft.
going to want to do it in a fun environment. They have a private riser at the back. It's got its own full-service bar right beside you, so you are not going to be waiting around. There are screens that surround that riser where you can plug on in, put your lists up, this, that, the other thing. And, of course, when you're going to eat as well, there's delicious street food there. Try the tacos. They're divine. And then when you're all done, you got an arcade right there. And who doesn't love an arcade? For more info to book your event, go to gretabar.com, Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. Rob Williams is going to join us, the national sports editor of the Daily Hive, here in Vancouver. We're going to talk about the idea of the kids coming home. We're going to talk about playoff viewing parties somewhere down the line. For the
Interesting. In
there are
concept.
some World Cup lessons, I think, that we have learned here with Rob. We're going to talk about the future of BC Place, the big story with both the Lions and the Whitecaps interested in buying that facility. Plenty of other hockey talk with Rob. And then Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. He covers the Blue Jays. They're 10 games under 500. It is not the season the defending American League champions thought they would be having. The Major League Baseball trade deadline is on Monday. People anticipate the Blue Jays are going to be active. There's apparently a very big market for Kevin Gausman. George Springer, I think, has increased his market with the way he's played. It's also possible they get aggressive in looking for young players who are multi-year guys. And Keegan's got a word or two about some of the Blue Jays prospects, one whom we saw here in Vancouver, one who we're about to see here in Vancouver. Fantastic conversation with a guy who has really made his mark. He is one of the go-to sources now for Blue Jays information. He's very well spoken, but he's also an incredibly fun follow on social media. Keegan Matheson joins us later in the program. We will get to the Whitecaps, who are back at it this weekend before what we anticipate is going to be a gigantic crowd at BC Place with LAFC, a good rival in town. Sebastian Berhalter damn near in tears saying his goodbye to the Caps and Vancouver. We'll talk some Lions. Their depth chart is out. So is the Winnipeg depth chart heading into tomorrow's game, which kicks off the CFL week. Some tennis news, and the Raptors and Clippers are coming to play an exhibition game in October, and that's very good news for Kawhi Leonard because one way or the other, he will be attached
He'll
to that
be there.
game.
By the way, did you see Thomas Muller win the sharpshooter contest at the All-Star Skills Challenge? It's pretty good. Hope it didn't burn out his hips in the constant shooting of all that.
Right.
Just to save it.
Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. Lions are 7.5-point underdogs in Winnipeg tomorrow, with an over-under of 54.5. Lions have really struggled to score points over the last couple of games, but of course that was mostly with Chase Bryce under center at the quarterback. Winnipeg's got a backup quarterback too. Winnipeg has a big injury on the offensive line too, so does BC. I hate betting football unders and not rooting for points. Yeah. But I do think under 54.5 is a wise bet here. I also kind of like 7 and a hook with the new quarterback.
You take one, I'll take the other.
Okay, I'll take the under 54.5.
Yeah, that's good because I wanted this spread. Plus 7.5. Lions have been keeping things relatively close. We've talked about it. So plus 7.5 suits me just fine.
Worst thing about hockey season is that at some point every year it ends. There's a lot of time now. In fact, 2 months between right now and the first regular season puck drop for our local team. Feels like an eternity, I get it, but the good news, Bet365 still has plenty of games, just none that require lacing up skates. At Bet365 Casino, you choose between hundreds of slots, live tables, your favorite games, or at least your second favorite games. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Rob Williams coming up next. Gerson Price from the Historic Wall Center. Great to welcome back to the program Rob, the hockey guy, Rob Williams, the national sports editor of the Daily Hive and its Offside Sports Vertical. Rob, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm doing great. Great to be here. How are you?
Good.
We're fantastic. Lovely summer in the city of Vancouver here. And people are wondering about how lovely it would be one day if Macklin Celebrini or Connor Bedard came home. Celebrini signing the contract extension today makes him a UFA in 2032. Connor Bedard, of course, re-signing earlier in the month with the Blackhawk makes him a UFA in 2030.
Every morning would be sunny if they came home. Every single
dead
morning
of November
would be like this.
Would be sunny days here in the city. We're asking on our Nation Gear poll question, do you actually believe the Canucks will one day bring one of the local superstars home? What do you think, Rob?
You know what? I think that if either guy got to unrestricted free agency, that it kind of lines up perfectly, right? Like the Canucks are entering a rebuild now. We're talking 5-6 years away. That's a pretty good timeline for the Canucks to have a good young team on the rise. That would be the perfect place for a superstar to land and, contend for years to come. And I think if it's close, Celebrini or Bedard, like they both seem to, both grew up massive Canucks fans. So I think that the dream was always scoring in Game 7 Stanley Cup final with an orca on their chest, right? Like that would have been what they grew up, imagining. The problem here is that so few NHL players, especially the superstars, get to unrestricted free agency. They always seem to re-sign, or they get traded and then sign with a new team. Like it just seems to never
Are we
happen.
in a new era, though? Are we in a new era? Are these kids a little different?
Team building, LeBron style team building as a thing in the National Hockey League down the road.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think we're probably going to see that with Quinn and Jack Hughes. But not before Quinn probably re-signs with the Minnesota Wild, right? Like of all the places in the league, like he's just going to go back to the Wild. That's just not how it's done in the NBA, but it does seem to be the way it's done in the NHL. That the team you either re-sign with the team you're currently with, or you sign for the team that they trade you to.
How much do you think success with their native teams now plays into that? Like San Jose looks like they've got their head screwed on pretty well here. They could be a very good team in full flight at that point. Does he want to leave at that point?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you get established in a new city with a new team, you become beloved there. You generate friendships and bonds with the guys that you're playing with, and those friendships and bonds are usually a little bit tighter if you're doing a lot of winning and have a bright future ahead of you. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? Like, there's a lot of time to pass between now and then. But if there are two guys that really seem like they love the Canucks, like those are the guys, right? Because we don't always see that with players that have gone to the NHL from this area, that they didn't always grow up like diehard Canucks fans. But it definitely appears from everything we've heard and seen from these guys, as when they were entering the league, that the Canucks do hold a special place in their heart.
Well, three things here. Number one, we should not forget in Macklin's case, San Jose is home too, right? Like the family has lived there for an awfully long time. It continues to live there. So San Jose is as home a market as Vancouver is. Secondly, and my new friend Angus Cruikshank taught me this now, the Florida Panthers, I think the young NHL player today holds on to their fandom and the experience of rooting for a team is more meaningful to them because there's been a culture change. before, when young NHL players got drafted, it's like they had to drop everything about their fandom, everything about their history with the league. Like they were NHL pros now. There was an expectation. And don't let me hear about, who you rooted for as a kid. You're a Devil now. You're a Blue now. You're a whomever now. And that's that, as though there was no history. But the third thing is, have you seen the practice groups that are happening here in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Like Macklin, Bedard, McKenna, like it's becoming an off-season training hub, kind of like Toronto became an off-season training hub.
You got those two guys as
well.
an anchor, that's
right. And
McKenna often trained here.
Could you imagine if the Canucks actually had a practice facility too, in terms of off-season training? Do you think, these summers and all these guys coming together in our town to practice before the season, do you think that may weigh into it at all as we go down the road here?
I'm sure it doesn't hurt. It was probably down the line of things that you're down the line on the checklist of where you're wanting to go. But yeah, I mean, it exposes you. I think that all of these things work in the favor of building rapport, building connections, and NHL players are creatures of habit, and you tend to like what we're seeing with the U.S. Olympic team now, right? And you build connections there, and then all of a sudden, maybe Quinn's a little more comfortable going to Minnesota because he's dealt with Bill Guerin, right? Like things like that, I think do matter. So yeah, if you're spending a lot of time in Vancouver and getting to know people around this area, getting to see the city in the summer when it shows off the best, I think it can't hurt. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, right? Like the practice facility is part of it. How does it treat players? Do these guys all get together in Vancouver and talk about how well they're treated in San Jose, and then maybe they want to go to San Jose and join Celebrini there. So it works a few different ways, but yeah, like everything matters, right? And I think that was something that I know Mike Gillis, understood when he was here, that like all these little incremental things, they all matter and they all add up to making your destination more desirable for NHL players to come to.
Yeah, and we know how much NHL players hate moving their stuff. So there's that as well. Maybe that plays into it.
Speaking of young players here, just as we begin talking here, guys, the morning lines for the World Juniors are trotted out. Braden Coots, Caleb Malhotra, 1-2. How does that strike Canucks fans, do you think? I mean, it's just summer showcase, but it allows you to dream of the World Juniors and then beyond into the pro career. Coots, Malhotra down the middle. What do you think Canuck fans are thinking if they see that, and if they see that in the World Juniors too, what it might mean?
First, allow me to get on my soapbox. I like summer showcase lines for World Juniors. Like,
Rob, some of us have shows to do. Some of us have shows to do, Rob.
Guys, I'm with you guys are like just about the only show in town right now, guys. So I'm listening. I listen to your show all the time, but I was saying to Matt the other day, I'm like, now it's like, well, you guys don't do a show every day. I'm like waiting for these shows to come out. I'm listeing front to back of every show. There's nothing else to listen to in this
Dust the corners out. Absolutely.
Go back and listen to ancestral shows, Rob. There's plenty of good stuff in the archive.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start doing that. You're gonna have some like best of shows for the summer, maybe. But no, I mean, I do think it'll be really exciting if we see, Canucks. When was the last time we saw like multiple Canucks players on Team Canada that were like difference makers?
It's been a while. Mikey DiPietro had his run.
Yeah, like DiPietro for that tournament in Vancouver, like Jonah Gadjevich won player of the game once. Yeah. Like I'm really struggling to think of
Cody Hodgson in
you know,
2008, 2009 was maybe one of the best, if not the best Canadian player on a gold medal winning team. But no, you're right. Like in terms of having multiple frontline players on the Canadian World Junior team, boy, it's been a minute.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a minute.
I mean, they've had so few like top level prospects, and B, it seems like all of their top level prospects have come out of the United States or Sweden, right? So yeah, that's going to be really, really exciting to see. You know, World Juniors where you don't have to like watch like Sweden, Denmark to find like a Canucks player to keep tabs on. You can just watch Canada play and kind of pull for the guy that's in the Canucks organization. I think fans are going to love that.
Yeah, we will keep an eye on Norway though with Nicholas Aram Olsen there as well, second round pick from this current draft. This is one of the things that Rob Williams does the best. He picks up the subtlety, the nuance, the itty-bitty details on Canucks messaging, and that brings us to poster boys, Rob. And there it is. There is the poster boys that are attached to ticket sales. Okay, take us through. What do we see here for those who are not on visual platforms, and what does it mean? Tell them the 5 players what you think it means.
So this is an ad for game packs, which is what the Canucks are pushing right now. Which it did. I did get some clarification on it. Like they're selling game packs now, and I had a friend that's a season ticket member, and he has like a quarter season pack, and he was like, why are they selling game packs? I haven't even picked out my games for my quarter pack. Like he was kind of like thinking like, are these fans jumping the line? Apparently they're not. Apparently you can buy a game pack now, but you don't receive your seats till later. So all the season ticket members should breathe easily like that.
Which is interesting because you're going to just blindly buy seats. Like you don't even know where your seats are, but you've laid down the cash.
Yeah, you get like a section, right? But you're not going to know exactly what row. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is interesting. But that's the most common visual that I saw for promoting ticket sales. And I did think it was interesting, like who's on the top billing of this, right? Like a year ago at this time, it was Quinn Hughes flanked by Elias Pettersson and Thatcher Demko and Brock Besser and Jake DeBrusk, right? Interesting that Jake DeBrusk is not in this photo. Linus Karlsson and Drew O'Connor are. I also think it's interesting that Brock Besser is the guy that's front and center on this one. Obviously, I mean, Elias Pettersson still probably their most talented player in theory, anyways. He's their leading scorer last season, but clearly, that's not their most marketable player anymore, right? Like that's not the guy that he's not the fan favorite, right? Like there's a lot of people, and a lot of people wondering if he's going to be on the team even next season. I think he probably is at this point, but there's that. And then there's Philip Hronek, right? Like probably, I think he was their MVP last year, but he doesn't, fans don't have a special connection with him because we so rarely hear him speak. I think fans like him as a player for sure, but there's not that bond there, right? Yeah, and so it's Brock Besser is the guy. He struggled too somehow, sort of like he's just kind of being more liked with fans, and that's a player that is still well loved by Canucks fans.
Yeah, also interesting that Drew O'Connor is there because we had talked about him as a potential trade piece, and let's face it, he is kind of a bottom 6 swinger. I mean, do you just throw Demko up there in the gear, given the history longevity that he has? I realize you're not going to be able to count on him maybe at the beginning of the year, but you'd have to think Thatcher Demko is going to play for the Vancouver Canucks at some point in season 26.
You think you try to put guys on there that are untradeable, but I mean, there's a world where O'Connor, Besser, and Pettersson could be asked to be traded. Who knows?
Another Rob Williams specialty is viewing parties. I'm not sure anybody had more fun or saw more of the city and its watch parties during World Cup than Rob Williams. It seemed like every single day on his social media, he was tweeting out new photos about where to watch the soccer matches, both the ones here at BC Place and the ones that were going on around the continent. But you've done a piece now on the future of outdoor watch parties for the Canucks. What can you tell us?
Yeah. Well, yeah. This is one thing I'm forever interested in this type of thing, and I remember writing about like what watch parties would look like for the Canucks the next time they made the playoffs, like years and years ago, like when we were through the Benning non-rebuild, right? And I remember asking that question because that's when we began to see like Maple Leaf Square in Toronto, and we saw the Moss Pit in Edmonton, and just kind of like virtually every team around the league would have these awesome outdoor watch parties, typically right outside of their home arena, and they look great on television, and then these began, right, and that's basically commonplace now. And of course, the Canucks finally make the playoffs, first time in 9 years. The city's so excited to see the team play playoff hockey again. And the playoffs began with no outdoor watch parties. There was nothing for the series against Nashville. Mayor Ken Sim was talking about the riots and how he's concerned about that sort of thing. I feel like they kind of got caught off guard. They eventually decided, okay, no, we are going to do a watch party. It started like for game 3 of the second round against Edmonton. So like just really odd timing with the whole thing. And they, I always forget the name of the park, but it's like near like Van Dusen Gardens and Oak Meadows Park or whatever it was called.
That's
on the
the point, Rob. We all forget the name of the park because it was such a sad, pathetic, itty bitty park party.
And it to me, it was so transparent that they tried to pick the safest place, like far away from transit, far away from downtown, surrounded by wealthy homeowners on the west side, and they had this super lame outdoor watch party. Like all of the videos and all of the photos, I didn't go watch any games there, but all the videos, all the photos that I saw from there, like it looked lame. Right? It looked nothing like these awesome watch parties we've seen in other cities. So that brings me now to now, like we're obviously far away from a Canucks playoff appearance, but what's it going to look like the next time the Canucks are in the playoffs? Because I feel like we've got the blueprint now of the FIFA World Cup. It wasn't just the fan fest at the Peony, although I think that probably makes the most sense, like hold outdoor watch parties at the amphitheater. But there's Jackpool Plaza. There were watch parties in North Vancouver. Like there were so many great outdoor watch parties. Like why can't I sure hope Vancouver does not get in a situation the next time they're in the playoffs and we're like the only city that doesn't have anything cool because we're worried about a riot from 2011, right? Like I think you gotta make changes. You don't just invite everyone into Georgia Street to run amok like we did in 2011. But there should be some cool scenes the next time the Canucks are in the playoffs.
I 100% agree. The good news is they have a lot of time to sort this, I suspect, Rob.
Yes.
Oak Meadows Park.
There we go.
Between 33rd and 37th, between Oak Street and Willow. I don't know about you, Blake, but when I want a party in Vancouver,
Oak and Willow.
He's right. It's near Van Dusen.
I like to mix it in some foliage when I'm watching
absolutely.
hockey.
Like the botanists, the birders, they'll all be happy.
Yeah.
We're coming right into their neck of the woods. You did an item too about the FIFA World Cup here again. What's this, Rob? Will we ever see? No. Okay, talk to me. Let's go.
No, my
we
question
see
is
Canada's stars. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, when are we going to see? When are we the Canadian men's national team has announced like 2 friendlies, coming up. This is their first 2 games after playing the World Cup. They're in Toronto and they're in Montreal. And my question is, when are they going to be back to Vancouver again? Like, will we ever see this edition? Like, will we ever see Alphonso Davies with the Canadian men's national team, like and Jonathan David and all these guys. I don't know when we're going to see them again, because the grass is gone at BC Place. Under Jesse Marsh, the Canadian men's national team has never hosted a game on turf. And I spoke to him a year and a half ago and asked about, playing more games in Vancouver. And his message was like, it's not really about geography. And he said it was all about and he even said the players are willing to play on turf. He said that the opponent coming to play them on turf is a big stumbling block. So, and I just wonder, just in general too, does the national team want to play on turf as well? I'm sure they're why would you go all the way to Vancouver to play on turf when you can go to Toronto or Montreal?
Yep, no, it's a fair shout.
They did play a match against Honduras here a year ago, but they installed a temporary natural grass pitch for that game. So that's my question. Are we going to see game? Would they consider installing a natural grass pitch for maybe a bigger matchup? Maybe you're playing Mexico or the United States. If
you're playing two as well, Rob, make it a package. Don't split the cities like they're doing here. You're coming to BC Place. You're going to get way more fans than you will at the smaller stadiums out east. And I think you can recoup your costs if you install the practice pitch for two.
Or fellas, how about the Lions and Whitecaps just buy BC Place, put grass in, and show a little bit more duty of care on the playing surface going forward?
Hey, if it can be engineered for full-time natural grass and concerts, I'm all for it. I don't know if it's possible.
That was the other big story this week, Rob, both the Mardoman and the Whitecaps. If the province is willing to actually sell BC Place, what's your take there?
Yeah, I heard you guys talking to Farhan Lalji about it as well. I'm sort of side with him. I don't know if that I believe it's going to happen. I don't know that it's they're going to be able to agree on a number that is going to be affordable enough for the Whitecaps and Lions to buck up but also high enough for the government to be able to sell it to taxpayers. So to me, the thing that makes the most sense is having the Whitecaps run BC Place, but the government not actually give up control of it. Maybe you do that for a while and then you sell BC Place. Maybe once there's another Whitecaps owner with deeper pockets. That's sort of my take on it. I just don't believe it's going to happen. But happy to be proven otherwise. Whatever can be done to keep both, to keep the Caps in Vancouver, I'd be happy to see it.
Yeah, as I said to Farhan, got to see the vision here, Rob. And part of the vision, I grew up in our nation's capital. I understand the political animal. Does David Eby want to be a British Columbia premier who is known for running deficits, being hugely unpopular, and then getting kicked out of office by a couple of parties that are still trying to find their way? Or does David Eby want the legacy of being the guy who saved the Whitecaps in Vancouver? I think there may very well be a choice there for Mr. Eby, who I'm not sure is going to be back as premier one way or the other. And when you accept that conclusion, that outcome, you do have a little bit more political freedom to go ahead and
put
pursue.
$250 million in the coffers too, right?
Yeah, or even if you don't sell the land and they just lease the land, as we talked about, so it's less than that, but you're still putting money in the coffers and you're still saving the Whitecaps and securing the home for the BC Lions.
What I will say is that it doesn't make sense. I'm not a business analyst, but it doesn't make sense to me that BC Place is losing money every year. That seems crazy. Why are we're spending, the taxpayers are losing money on this every year? That seems insane to me. And to have that in conjunction with the naming rights of the building, of the 16 host cities for the FIFA World Cup, BC Place was the only one that didn't get a generic name thrown on it because it didn't need one. Every other stadium had a sponsor on it. So like, why is this not called Telus Place or pick whatever? So that makes no sense to me. And then at the same time, it does seem a little bit odd, and I guess in theory that the BC government is in the business of booking concerts and putting on shows. That's probably not the forte of the BC government. And is there like a public thing, like a public good that we're getting out of BC Place by having the province own it? Like, are they putting on events for the public good that we wouldn't get from a private owner owning it?
100%.
And I don't know. And I don't know that that's the case either, other than maybe, giving breaks to the Whitecaps and Lions. But if the Whitecaps leave, then we're not getting that either.
Yeah, and you're losing your anchor tenant. And there is the rub. And look, I hear this all the time from people who it's not that business principles don't apply in terms of government and its operations, but the principal difference between government and business is that businesses are in it for profit. Governments provide services. And, if it's a service BC Place, then it's going to run like a lot of other government services where it costs the taxpayers money. And that's what we've been sitting here asking for years now. Why is the government, which should be doing services, in this business of operating
a hungry capitalist would surely do better.
Massive sports venue. Yeah. It especially with an arm's reach, Crown Corp. It's a very antiquated, not even antiquated, unique, like sort of bizarre model that I think it's
and a bit of an
course.
Optimistic model too.
Yeah,
that just doesn't hit.
Awesome stuff in the Daily Hive this week, Rob. Thanks for the time here today. Most appreciated. You may have somebody knocking at the door there, so go check on out. The storage closet is required.
There's all sorts of noises going on in this place. Yeah.
So, Carson Price from the historic Wall Center. This next guest is brought to you by the Vancouver Canadians, who are, of course, at Nat Bailey Stadium this week with a huge lineup of promotions and giveaways. It was the most popular 75-cent hot dog Tuesday, yesterday, today, and RBC We Care Wednesday, supporting Pacific Autism Family Network. Pride Night Thursday with post-game fireworks, and Nooner Friday. Saturday is Country Night with a cowboy hat giveaway, and then White Spot Family Fun Sunday with a Chef Wasabi beach towel giveaway. And you can get your tickets 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com. Our next guest is a happy Haligonian on a baseball beat. If you follow Keegan Matheson of MLB.com, you will know this is a man who can get behind 75-cent hot dog night at Nat Bailey Stadium. He joins us now to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays, who are 5 days away from the Major League Baseball trade deadline and sinking like a stone. Keegan, thanks for the time. Good to see you again, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing well, fellas. Sounds like a big week at the Nat, man. I might need to come out and cover the Canadians the rest of the year. I've had enough Blue Jays baseball. I'll cover the deadline. I'll head west.
Might get a few more wins, too.
I think so, yeah. The Blue Jays may be sellers, but that could make the Canadians buyers, I guess.
That's right.
Depending on how old these prospects are, Maybe they're going to load the Canadians up for the run here. We'll see.
Yeah, that's the thing. And Keegan, I got to tell you, it is quite a vibe night tonight at Nat Bailey Stadium, especially at this time of year when the kids are out. I mean, there's 5,000-6,000 people there every night just having blast. And you don't have to rewind too long ago where Rogers Center was also a blast, and yet Rogers Center is not a blast these days. And we're even starting to hear it a little bit from the crowd when Vladdy comes up to bat. Just talk to me about the 2 years that have been in your world, my dude, where like last year they were the hottest team in maybe all of sport, and this year they've just been so utterly disappointing.
Everything's just lacked this year. There are different ways to have bad seasons. You can be losing games 10-9 and it's chaotic and your own players are putting up numbers, but your pitching staff sucks. And I would argue that's a more entertaining way to have a bad year. But to have a bad year where your biggest stars aren't doing anything, You have the worst offense in baseball, and we're talking about injuries all year. It's not fun. It's not exciting for fans. Nobody's excited by this season. And it's weird, guys, to be in a stadium that has 41K in it every night. I mean, like Mondays and Tuesdays. Damn, like they are selling this place out. But all you can hear is just kind of like the murmur of people talking amongst themselves, being like, man, when we bought these tickets in February, it seemed like a good idea, and now here we are. It's been such a complete collapse from last year. And no matter how many times people want to move the goalposts, which drives me nuts, like this team was supposed to be competing for the AL East. I mean, like, forget the wild card. That bores me. Like, not the wild card. Okay, this was supposed to be an AL East winning team and a World Series favorite, not just contender. And they've fallen apart, man. Like, the core issues of this team really shock me. Because last offseason, Dylan Cease, they nailed it. Tyler Rogers, they nailed. Kazuma Okamoto, they nailed. Spencer Miles is like winning the lottery in baseball, man. They nailed the offseason, but everything else has been bad. It's just everyone having a bad year at the same time. And I know we want to find these connective tissues and fire somebody and yell at someone. This is just a bunch of ball players playing really bad baseball at the same time. Like, normally it's one or two. Right now it's 10, and it's very ugly.
We were talking last week about how the Florida Panthers are the odds-on favorites right now to win the Stanley Cup this year. This is after they missed the playoffs last year. But everybody just assumes it'll all be fine this year. They had injuries as an excuse, blah, blah, blah. Will we be saying that about the Blue Jays? Nah, that was a one-off. That'll never happen again. You can bring back most of the guys. It'll be fine. Or do they need to excavate?
I think there need to be some core changes. That doesn't mean trading Vladdy and going crazy but I think there maybe needs to be some core improvements is a better way to put it. Like, we're not looking at let me be real Toronto and make it about the Leafs. Like, we're not looking at we got to get rid of one of Nylander, Marner's, Matthew. Like, it's not one of those core situations, which just oh God, enough. Sometimes your core just isn't good enough. There doesn't need to be a breakup. There doesn't need to be picking 3 of 4. Right now, we are seeing that the core has not been good enough. Last year was their 100th percentile, best possible outcome in every sense. Vladdy was really good. George Springer was their MVP at 36. And all the role players, even when you go down through Tyler Heineman, Miles Straw, Lucas, all these guys had peak seasons at the same time. This is a bottom 5% outcome. So you're seeing what it looks like. Where's the middle? Is the middle good enough? I don't know. But the Blue Jays lineup and core of their roster clearly needs to be better, because when you nail an offseason and this still happens, I mean, God, if you told me in March, guys, that Cease, Rogers, Okamoto would all do what they're doing, I'd say, cool, it's a World Series year.
Yeah.
But the core has not done enough. So that's where the additions need to come. Next year, the Blue Jays need more starters. They need a center fielder. The Blue Jays right now, guys, and this is important for the deadline in terms of prospects they get back, they've got a lot of big league players. They have a lot of good players. You need some great ones. We're not NBA brained here where you need 3 megastars, but you need more stars. The Blue Jays need more stars, because right now their big star, Vladdy, has flopped. And when you don't have other stars to pick that up, this is what it looks like.
I'm not sure he qualifies as a big star, but he was certainly a star in Toronto. He's not hitting the cover off the ball in New York, but I have long wondered what Bo Bichette at the top of this lineup would still look like. Keegan, do you think that played any role into what we're seeing with this team's anemic offense?
Maybe a small amount, but Bo's numbers are bad this year too. Would that be different in Toronto? Maybe. Not sure. But his numbers, if you just teleport them over, don't help, which is the weird part. Even Kyle Tucker, who the Blue Jays were attached to all offseason, he went to LA. His numbers suck too. So that's the frustrating part. It's not like the Blue Jays missed on an obvious thing. And coming into this season, guys, I always try to not rewrite my own opinions. And I thought this offense would be just fine. Yeah. I really did. And they looked like they had too many starting pitchers, wrong, right? This offense looked like it would be good enough. because you thought that you would have Alejandro Kirk all year playing well, which hasn't happened. You thought you would have anything from Addison Barger, which has not happened. And right down the list, I mean, George Springer's looked much better lately, but his OPS has dropped a couple of 100 points. You can take one or two of those. You just can't take all of them at the same time. You know, Anthony Santander, where he is in the world, I don't know. There's just all of these lost values all at the same time without a breakout star to balance them out, guys. And the bar isn't high. You know, if the Blue Jays had just scraped out one more win a month this season, we're probably talking about them still in the race. Like, the bar is
Totally.
You don't need to be great. You need to be decent in Major League Baseball right now, and they haven't been.
Yeah.
If you, I was just going to say, like, do you think they will take a step back? Like, not a rebuild, but will they take a full-fledged, okay, we're going to take a year to breathe and develop? Or do you think they'll just go all in and try to acquire another star and try to acquire prospect ready to blossom? Which given the budget and how they've acted in the past, which is the path you think they take?
I think they try to win again in 27. And I think you need to, because a lot about money, unfortunately, not even baseball, but the Blue Jays have grabbed that national attention. And you still see it with ticket sales. You know, the TV audiences, I'm sure, are not what they were. And there's advertising and everything that goes into this. Lots of money involved. They're still packing the house. And they have gotten a taste of what it's like, both in terms of baseball, but in terms of business, what it's like when you capture the most unique market in Major League Baseball. And it's very lucrative. We also know what it looks like when you get stuck in the middle, because the Blue Jays were in the middle for 20 years, late 90s, early 2000s. You can't go back to having 19,000 people in that dome. That dome is really cool when it's full. When it's half full, it's not very cool, guys. Mm-hmm. You start to see all the concrete really quickly, okay? Yeah. You need that place full of people and full of life.
Helped, but yes, I hear you.
Helped a lot, yeah. So they need to maintain that. And I don't think this is an organization that's eager to step back or to move away from this. It's going to involve moving a lot of guys this deadline by Monday who are on expiring deals. That probably means Gausman, Bieber, Springer, Varsho, maybe even Jeff Hoffman a year early. That's going to free up money that they've got to spend right away, though. Like, they're going to need to have a busy offseason as one of the biggest spenders in Major League Baseball, which they've been for years now. And that's their opportunity to change the shape of this. And, like, what's your core going to look like? Are you going to go more in on offense? Are you going to take bigger risks? Maybe. But they need to get this back on track for 27. And I think they need to be emboldened by the idea that, like, again, you don't have to be the Dodgers to get into the playoffs. You've got to be a 500 ball club. The bar is low. And I think it's so obvious the areas they can get better. It should be, you know, not easy, but easy to say when it's not my money, but it should be pretty straightforward.
Well, you make a good point, Keegan. We've been talking about it all year. It's just a really down year for the entire American League. Like, it's right there if you're even a reasonable ball club, and you're not. You mentioned the four names of Gausman, Varsho, Springer, Bieber. Who do you think is most likely, or how many of them do you think are likely to move by Monday's deadline?
At least three, maybe all four, really. You start to think of, like, what would the point of them be on this team down the stretch? And at a certain point, you've got to fill innings and be a respectable team. You can't just tank in baseball. But George Springer, with how he's looked these last couple of weeks, which is really damn good, he makes a ton of sense on a contender. I kind of keep coming back to, like, how he would fit a Boston, even, like, I don't know if a Houston reunion would make sense if they make a run, but one of these teams that needs a bench bat, DH, corner outfield type. His experience and how he's playing lately makes a lot of sense. Dalton Varsho, the same. I think teams will see the upside there. And then Gausman and Bieber. Now, where Bieber's price is after yesterday, no clue. That's such a weird wrench to throw into this with 6 walks in an inning. Even if teams believe that's an outlier, they're not going to tell Ross Atkins that. They're going to say, no, we can't pay as much now. So interesting to see where prices go, but I could easily see all four of them moved ahead of the deadline, and maybe even more than 4. You've got Max Scherzer, who's an option, Jeff Hoffman, some other more fringe players who might be useful to contenders like Miles Straw. It could be real busy guys, because if you decide it's time to sell, you sell. You all the way.
Yeah.
Remind me, next
they're
year,
looking
Jose
for
Barrios, is he got a year left on his deal? Does he have years left?
So he has a opt-in for, I think, 24 mil a season for 2 years that he can opt into. He's going to opt into it.
Yeah.
And he'll spend next year rehabbing from Tommy John most of the year. If he pitches by the end of the year, great. But yeah, that opt-in is the easiest decision in player option history, I think.
Yeah, I do wonder about George Springer down the I-5 here. The Mariners are looking for a right-handed bat, and he would
like
make
it.
some sense for them. I've also seen it speculated, Keegan, that given the aggressive nature of this front office, given where they're coming from as American League champions and what they will anticipate being next year, this might not be just a pure seller deadline for them, that they may actually go out and start. You mentioned a center fielder. There's some young shortstops that are apparently available with term left at this deadline. I think you got to ask yourself the question, is Jimenez your guy going forward? Could you see them having sort of a 1 foot in next year where you get aggressive and acquire some players with term on top of selling off the UFAs?
I think they should. I think that would be really smart. And especially going into this offseason and into next year, where just labor uncertainty and the CBA negotiations create an unknown. You know, it's a spot where I'm thinking it's important for me to even say, I don't know how that impacts this deadline. I don't know. But I think that having financial flexibility and budget strength can only be a positive, maybe more so now than usual. So the Blue Jays can take on money. They can eat money. And that can happen in two different ways. If they deal Springer or Gausman, each of them will have around $7 million left on their deal. Maybe they get back a kind of prospect. But if you eat $5 million, that prospect gets a lot better. That can be a way they do it. The other thing they can do is take back a starting pitcher for next year. Because next year it's Cease, Savage, Cody Ponce coming back from an ACL, and maybe Jose Barrios eventually coming back from Tommy John. That's not a rotation. Maybe you find a pitcher who you can take back for a couple of years, a long-term outfield option where the Blue Jays, again, have lots of good players, just not enough stars. I think they should treat this as a selling deadline, but also kind of early access to the offseason. Try to get a jump on some teams. And when you have financial muscle to flex, you got to do it, man. It's something that not a lot of teams have. And a lot of teams that are contending right now are lower budget, middle, smaller market teams. If you can make their day easier by taking some bad money back and eating it, you got to do it. That's how you get real prospects back, not some team's number 26 prospect back.
Speaking of real prospects, Keegan, there's a very, very good one level below Vancouver in Dunedin. He is the Jays' first-round pick from last year, a shortstop out of the Mississippi high school ranks named JoJo Parker, and ranks as the Blue Jays' top prospect, according to your friends over at MLB Pipeline. We, of course, got to see Arjun Nimmala for a year plus. And I was with a friend last night saying, I really miss Arjun. I was like, well, that's the nature of the business. They move on up. Any chance we see this young man in Vancouver before the end of the season?
I think you do, because just yesterday is when a bunch of the Blue Jays draft picks from this year's draft got assigned to Dunedin. And now that there's fewer affiliates, fewer spots, this stuff gets kind of jammed up. This late July, early August is when there's a ton of movement all around the organization, releases, promotions. I think that would make sense for JoJo Parker at this point. A lot of the same things you heard about Arjun Nimmala back when he was starting, you hear them about JoJo Parker, which is first and foremost his maturity as a young player. He's still 19 years old. And let me tell you, there's a lot of ways to be a 19-year-old prospect. Are you a grown-up or not? Essentially is the question. And JoJo Parker is a grown-up. He is someone who I think the Blue Jays are extremely, extremely high on. Both him and Juan Sanchez, who could kind of be another. They could be that, like, scratch the old itch of Vladdy and Bo, like coming up as a tandem. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love a good prospect tandem. And if not late this year, then most of next year in Vancouver. But I think JoJo Parker especially deserves to get a shot in Vancouver at the end of the year. He's had some hot streaks, some cold streaks. The batting average is down around 240. OPS is below 8 right now. but he's had some really solid stretches, and the Blue Jays value him a heck of a lot higher than his stat line looks right now. First and foremost for that maturity and how they think he'll develop. But he is a guy that when he catches fire, I think can move really quickly. Man, his 20th birthday is coming up, and that'll be a fun one there, man. You'll have JoJo Parker, Johnny King still kicking around a bit longer. It's a good team.
Yeah, we talked to John.
What are you hearing about Namala while we're on the topic here? Because he's hitting 280. I see that, but his power numbers are down a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. He had a burst recently. I really like how the Blue Jays handled Arjun Namala this year. I liked that they started him back in Vancouver because he's a guy who had been pushed and given aggressive assignments a couple of times, but the numbers weren't quite there. And there needs to come a point where you get kicked in the butt a bit and say, okay, no, you got to earn your next one. We're not just going to promote you on maturity and profile. You got to earn the next one. And he did. He's had some bursts of power, and I've talked to Arjun over the years. Like, one thing he's struggled to do is, and this must be a great problem, guys, he drops too much weight during the season. No clue how that feels. I'd love to give him some tips about how to add it throughout the season. You can come hang with me in the press box. But he came into spring training a lot bigger this year, and that's encouraging because you guys know him well. He has that tall, big frame, broad shoulders. Like, I've compared it to like looking like an Olympic swimmer in the past, you know?
Yeah.
Because he's got like a 15-inch waist, you know? I think, like, where is this guy's, fat? You know, this guy weighs 140 pounds, it must be. So when he's been small, he's been quite small. But he came into camp this year, and the rest of his body looked like it had filled out a bit. And that's where that natural power can be. And I'm optimistic, too, that he can stick at shortstop, because the good thing for Namala bulking up is that for him, that does not make him 240 and full of muscle like too many players do. He's still a fluid athlete. He's still a natural, quick, twitchy athlete, and he hasn't lost that. If he can stick at shortstop, it's a way different conversation about what you need to do offensively. You know, if you're a third baseman, you need to do a bit more. A first baseman, you need to do a heck of a lot more. But if you're playing a good shortstop, I think he's doing enough offensively. And he's a guy that next year could be in AAA and becoming an option. You know, I know Andres Jimenez is around for a while now. That contract is not good at all right now. He needs to hit more. But Namala is having a better year than I expected. I was frankly a little down on him coming into the year. Just some of how he tapered off at the end of seasons, but he's been really impressive.
Yep. And he's nearly 4 years younger than the league average in AA. So that is important context as well. Keegan, fantastic conversation as always, my friend. Thank you for taking the time. We will read you with interest, listen to you with interest here between now and Monday. And, of course, look forward to seeing what new toys we may get to unwrap here in Vancouver with the Cease. Thanks for this, buddy.
Hey, it's been my pleasure, fellas. Thank you for having me.
Sekeres & Price from the historic Wall Center, the Nation Network studio built by Arbor Lee. Big game downtown. Make Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center your home base for game night and beyond. Walk to the action, sleep like a champ. Plan your stay at wallcenter.com. Just sticking with baseball, following up from Keegan Matheson, Addison Barger had his elbow surgery for the Jays, but it was not the full reconstruction, which would have been a 9-month timeline just to repair 6 months. Good news, he'll be ready for spring training next year, according to John Schneider, the skipper. We're now heading down Mariners Way, and it seems like the always budget-conscious ball club has changed some focus. Now, they want to trade a starting pitcher for a big right-handed bat. And there was talk of Luis Castillo, the most veteran member of their starting rotation, but he's on a really big ticket. Teams want them to eat some of that money. They don't want to eat some of that money. And so now tempting teams with a younger, more controllable starter. Jeff Passan, Major League Baseball insider with ESPN, reporting this week, Hancock expects to be traded by the deadline. He's been sublime this year. 3.16 ERA across 105 innings. He won't be a free agent till 2030, so that's a young, controllable starter. If you think this guy is the real deal, that is worth a whole lot. Of course, he had had his struggles prior to this season. We'll see where the M's go. Just back on the C's, congratulations, Landon Maroutis, who is the Northwest League Pitcher of the Year. He was excellent in Hillsborough last week. And Keegan Matheson also mentioned there was a ton of roster activity throughout the Blue Jays minor leagues yesterday. 4 players got called up to the Seas from Dunedin. An outfielder, Gene Joseph, an infielder, Daryl Ramon, an infielder, Raimundo de los Santos, and a pitcher, Franley Urena, all promoted. There they are, looking sharp. And one of them, Gene Joseph, Austin Smith as well, a two-way player, Blake. He's an outfielder and a left-hander pitcher, so that's fun. One of them, Gene Joseph, he homered last night at the Nat in his first game with the Vancouver Canadians in an 8-1 win for the Seas in front of all those dogs.
Oh.
Dog Days of Summer Part 2 at the Nat this year. And, there's the game over win.
I saw the Vancouver Rise collabed with them a little bit and promoted the fact that they were going back-to-back dog days. Tonight at the Rise match, it's a dog day.
At Swangard,
at the park.
You can take your dog to Swangard tonight and the Vancouver Rise. And amongst the activity in the Jays minor league system, 2 players called up to Double-A from the Seas. Canadian outfielder Mathieu Vallée and right-handed pitcher Jonathan Todd, who had been working as the Seas closer, one of their high-leverage relievers. He had really earned it. He's pitched well this year. Good luck to them and congratulations.
And I know we tend to play down results at that, mainly because we just love the vibe so much. But it's always nice when you get playoff baseball at that.
Yeah, for sure.
They are it is a cramped standings right now, but they're only 2 games back. So a good finish here. We could have some playoff baseball.
With a lot of home games left, too. So that's the other thing the Seas got going for them. It is now official for Sebastian Berhalter. Whitecaps midfielder has been transferred to English Championship side Middlesbrough FC. A whole lot of farewells and love and emotion here between Seb and the Caps. He had been here nearly 5 years. Caps saying, for every moment, every memory, and for everything you gave to the city, thank you, Seba. We wish you the best in your next chapter. And then Seb sat down to say his own goodbyes, and take a listen to this. Because
just kept it on the rails.
This is a guy just teeming with emotion on his way out of town. Here's Berhalter.
What's up, guys? What a ride. Just want to start by saying thank you to all the fans, the staff, the management, coaches, everyone, players. This is called this place my home for the last 4.5 years, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The memories last a lifetime. With the players, with the fans, the connection to the city. It's to see how much this city's grown. It makes me so proud to call myself a Whitecap, and I promise you, I'll always call myself a Whitecap, whether you guys like it or not. But for me, it's just utmost gratitude for taking me in as a boy, turned me out as a young man. So, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, for making me believe in myself. And more to come. I love you guys. I love every one of you guys. And thank you for being part of this journey. I'll be a Whitecap forever.
Mostly off the cuff, I think. I don't think there's no teleprompter there. That is from the heart for sure. Berhalter.
It's a 4-year deal with Middlesbrough. The Caps have a sell-on fee. Is that right? If he moves on, the Caps...
I didn't see that. Okay. I would hope that would be, because it's not a huge upfront fee, so you hope that you have the sell-on fee.
And I mean, we should explain some of the emotion there. Sebastian Berhalter came to the Whitecaps most notably as the son of Greg Berhalter, a U.S. soccer coach who would become the U.S. men's national team soccer coach. He was deep on the bench, a spare part, if you will. And then over the course of his 4.5 seasons, goodness gracious, we watched this young guy blossom into an integral part of the Whitecaps, an MLS All-Star, a fixture on the U.S. men's national team, and now a European player. Like, Blake, you and I have been doing this show 15 years. There is a short list of guys that we have watched improved as greatly as Sebastian Berhalter has improved for a Vancouver team. It was extraordinary because there were a lot of people who didn't think this was a true pro soccer player, like a guy who's going to be a frontline player in any kind of meaningful league, and he turned into more than that.
10% sell-on fee, by the way. He was acquired by the Whitecaps for the lowest amount of transfer dollars that you're allowed under the CBA.
$50,000 in general allocation money, or GAM. Got the Whitecaps. Seb, he had spent some time with the Columbus Crew with Austin FC on loan, but again, like, this was an end of the roster MLS player.
Yeah, and it was. I have eaten crow on this before. I'll do it again happily. I thought he was a guy. I thought they just acquired a guy, a MLS soccer player, quote unquote.
Yeah. With a famous dad.
Yeah. Just the guy gave you 20 minutes off the bench.
If that.
Be responsible with the ball. With all due respect, sort of what Oliver Laraz is, if you will, for the Whitecaps currently. I thought it was going to be that.
What Russell Tybert was at the end of his career. Give us some good hustle minutes.
Yeah. I thought that's what he was going to be. I didn't think he would be the best player on the team eventually. Crazy.
We anticipate having Axel Schuster on the program tomorrow. He is down in MLS All-Star Game in Charlotte. Province with the story. Axel has a plan to replace Seb Berhalter.
Since the young player is already relatively in tow, he said, "Don't be thinking that is the Berhalter replacement." He has 3 veteran players he's got in mind, 2 of whom he's already had a conversation with, one that he plans to, and he said those are the more impactful players or one of those 3 would be the impactful players to quote unquote replace Berhalter.
Caps return to BC Place on Saturday versus LAFC and the great Korean star Sonny. They're expecting a massive crowd north of 30,000. I mean, they eclipsed 30,000 some weeks ago for this game.
34 was the last number I saw, so they're probably 36 or something.
It's a 4:30 start. It is going to be a fun late afternoon, evening at BC Place Stadium. We know all those fans of Sonny. They root for him, but they also root for the Whitecaps. It was a great vibe there. It's been a great vibe there in the past with LAFC, which is now a Western Conference rival, a postseason rival of Whitecaps FC. Asa Raymond, their play-by-play voice on radio, doing some reporting out at training. Ranko Veselinovic did not train. Bruno Caicedo, it's too bad, out 4 to 6 weeks. He brings that electric speed on the outside. Our boy Ralph Priso, the Canadian international, trained fully, expected to be available for Saturday. That's fantastic news. Emmanuel Sabi is training, so we'll see how this week goes for him. And then Sarita Patel, the Caps reporter, with an update on Veselinovic, confirming that he did suffer a left knee injury during the match in Minnesota. The extent of the injury and the recovery timeline will not be known. He is going to a specialist and going through further evaluation. I mean, he just got back a couple of weeks ago from nearly a full year off with a full ACL construction.
You hope that what can sometimes happen, I praised anyway, this relatively slow roll they've had with Veselinovic. Like, they are not rushing this guy back in any way, shape, or form. But yet, still, what often happens is, of course, you don't reinforce the rest of the knee weakens so much after the injury everywhere that some of the other ligaments around get strained on the comeback trail because they're still taking the abundance of the load. You hope that's what it is. It's just a strain of something around the previous injury. They haven't given us any details, so we don't know, but that can sometimes be the case. Yeah. And that would be the best case scenario.
We'll ask Axel tomorrow if there's anything further on that. The Whitecaps are in phase 1 of Leagues Cup, and this starts next week. Leagues Cup, a 4-week competition with teams from the MLS, League MX in Mexico. Not only did the teams play for the Leagues Cup trophy, but third place and the final will determine the 3 clubs that qualify for the 2027 CONCACAF Champions Cup. Caps have 3 matches, 2 at BC Place in phase 1 of the competition. The Caps host Atlanta FC from Mexico. That's the Mexican Atlanta, not the Georgian Atlanta. On August 4th at BC Place, and then FC Juarez Friday, August 7th at BC Place. Both matches have 7:30 p.m. kickoffs. Caps then head off for an away match with Tigres on August 11th. For tickets, check out whitecapsfc.com/Leagues Cup.
Atlanta is an expansion team. But they are basically just a relocated team, believe it or not. So a team that is trying to stave off relocation, taking on a team that did relocate, formerly Mazatlan FC, who I didn't know had a team. Mazatlan.
I know they have some nice all-inclusives in Mazatlan.
I've been to Mazatlan once.
And it's match day for the Canadian men's U20 team. And remember, Jesse Marsh is coaching this team. Our senior men's national coach is coaching this team to get that integration leading up to the next World Cup. Canada plays Honduras tonight from Mexico, which is hosting this tournament. They beat Panama 3-0 on the weekend. They also play Jamaica on Saturday. This serves as a qualification tournament for the 2020 Los Angeles Olympics. The Olympic tournament, the Olympic men's tournament, is a U23 event. But, of course, it's a couple years away, and you would anticipate that a lot of the principals on this team will be a part of that Olympic team if, in fact, Canada qualifies. Walter Sedin, son of Henrik, is on this team.
And you know what? I love the Jesse Marsh inclusion, and I think you should coach at the Olympics as well. And I say that because, while that's not customary, we don't have the coaching depth that a lot of other top-end soccer nations have. So you're getting top-end coaching then for these important tournaments, and it prepares those young players for Jesse Marsh's actual national team for when they start to graduate from that Olympic U23 program as well. So if Canada's sort of all in on Jesse Marsh and anticipates a couple of cycles of the World Cup with him, you might as well do this and have the vertical
he signed
integration.
his extension. I mean, unless they make a change, he is the coach.
And Pochettino got his extension, which is a very big surprise.
I saw that. Caden Salter is your new starting quarterback for the British Columbia Lions as they head into Winnipeg tomorrow to face arch nemesis, the Blue Bombers. This is video from our boy Farhan, who was out at practice. Caden Salter taking the first team reps. It's official now. He will be the starting quarterback.
Wow.
And he's relation to Casey Printers, the former Lions star quarterback and CFL most outstanding player. A good story in the Vancouver Sun. Listen to this, Blake. Salter, quote, I didn't recognize he played here until we were in the offensive staff room and the coach brought up Casey Printers. And I said, hold up, isn't he my cousin? I'm just very privileged to be up here and do some of the things he did. We can both throw the ball 80 yards. It's just a genetics thing. And then he would later say, he talked to me over the weekend to be prepared because time moves fast, how things can happen, and that I'm capable of playing in this league. Build the bond and keep working, be that leader, and bring the playmaking abilities. Yeah, if you're too young to remember Casey Printers, he was a sight to behold. At his absolute peak, Casey was your quintessential CFL quarterback with the massive arm and the great feet who could run around and make plays outside the pocket. He was so much fun to watch.
And he sold the game too, right?
Did he ever?
He knew what he was supposed to be doing in terms of how to speak and how to get people whipped up, and he played the role.
Didn't lack for confidence. There was a lot of self-belief. Sounds like Caden inherited that as well. You know, at the worst of times, there was some drama moments with Casey, to say the least.
Yep.
Body language usually told the story with Casey, right? Didn't internalize that stuff. But he was a lot of fun, and looking forward to seeing what young Salter can do. Played for Deion Sanders at Colorado, so, you know.
So this was the year immediately after Shedeur was drafted?
Yes, that's correct. He was the starting quarterback for the Buffaloes last year with Shedeur in the NFL with the Browns. 6 changes coming for the Lions on the roster. No James Butler at tailback. He didn't make the roster, out with injury. Newcomer Imani Bailey starts at tailback, off the practice roster. Xander Horvath will be there as well. Former Defensive Player of the Year in the CFL, Lorenzo Malden, signed this week. Will back up at defensive end. Levi Bell is out. Taran Walker-Hunt makes his CFL debut at offensive right tackle. He has been on the practice roster dating back to last year, and also some healthier offensive linemen. 7 offensive linemen this week for Buck Pierce. It was time. It was time. They left themselves a little
moving
short.
up a safety to the offense.
Exactly. Andrew Pearson, who's been a good veteran for the Leos, is in reserve. There's an American offensive lineman in reserve as well. They are getting healthier. Anticipate seeing some guys ready for next week's game, including Nathan Rourke and wide receiver Stanley Berryhill. On the flip side, X-line Jarrell Broxton, the fine right tackle who BC lost in free agency, he's hurt. He won't play for the Bombers. CFL is a long season.
It is.
We're not quite at must-win territory. If you go way, way back in history, you can find teams who started with poor records and ultimately got to the Grey Cup. We saw it in 2011, right, with the BC Lions. 0-5, 1-6.
I don't mind if they go 2-2 in their next 4. Like, you don't have to win 5 in a row right now, but you need to show some signs of traction at least, I think, Matt. So that's what I would like to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it is a new young quarterback. You do have to understand that there will be some growing pains with the young.
But as we've said, the last 2 games with their quarterback problems and injuries, they still had chances to win.
Both those games were winnable. Winnable.
If you have a B+ quarterbacking performance, you should be able to win.
2011, they started 1-6 and then ripped off 8 straight victories when they got their feet underneath them. NBA basketball is returning to Vancouver. The LA Clippers and Toronto Raptors are coming to Rogers Arena on October 10th. I guess that's Kawhi against his old team. Is the Kawhi trade going to be? Is everything Kawhi going to be sorted by then? Adam Silver,
still going.
Please, Adam Silver. We've got to make a decision here, one way or the other. Yours is the league of decisions.
Grady Dick wants to live in Southern California.
Exactly.
Would you let him go, please?
Maybe Kawhi's a Clipper for that game and not a Raptor.
Awkward.
And our National Tennis Opens start on the weekend from Toronto and Montreal. Oh, really sad news on the men's side of the draw. Novak Djokovic and Jannik Sinner have both pulled out of this. So here's a look at your top 10 seeds. Zverev is there. Felix Auger-Aliassime, maybe an opportunity for him to win a home tournament with 2 big dogs not there. Look, it's an attractive list of players who have brand names and are darn good. I mean, Kaboli's had a fantastic year. Shelton's fun, Medvedev and all of them. Last known, Djokovic and Sinner. Women's side is a whole lot better, though. 7 of the 8 top players in the world will be in. Are they in Montreal? No, they're in Toronto. So the best of women's tennis will be at the Canadian Open.
And sorry, what's Mboko's status? She healthy enough?
Good question. I haven't actually.
I thought I read that is she the one that isn't of those 8? Is she?
No. Makova is the only top seeded player. The Czech who lost the Wimbledon final had the great post game speech. She's not. She's the one that is not going to be there amongst the top seeds. Yeah. What is Vicky's status? That's too bad. Yeah. That's too bad. Poll question results from Monday. We asked you, who do you want to own BC Place? You could vote Whitecaps, Lions, both, or the province. The winner here is...
I think people wanted Kumbaya, both.
Correct. Percentage?
50.
51. 25% saying the Caps, 12% saying the Lions, 11% saying the province.
I think the Caps thing is because of just the increased dates. It just the people thinking they've got more dates makes more sense for them to have controlling interest.
I also think there are more Caps fans on social media and voted
maybe.
accordingly.
Yeah.
VJ says, I voted for both. Let them both prosper and share the cost. Plus, anything that gets the government out of the stadium business is a great thing. Government has no place being in this business to begin with. Here, VJ. We've been saying that for years. I mean, I don't get it. Flashy Ashy says Doman is the best owner in this city, front and center and accountable. Yeah, we saw a lot of that. I trust Amar Doman because I know Amar Doman. I don't know Greg Kerfoot. Get it? I've mentioned that to Greg and the Caps in the past. Like, when you have a nameless, faceless owner that the people don't know, it's a little more difficult to draw those connections. Colin in planning, and not only a great listener, but Colin's in urban planning, and makes a note on our discussion with Farhan with regards to, we said BC Place Stadium worth about $150 million and the land worth about $70 million. Add it all up, it's about $225 million, the assessed value from 2026. But do you sell the land if you're the province? Colin says, I wonder if there's not a world where the province stays involved as the landowner, sell the building to the consortium under a 99-year lease, which is common practice for government-owned land, and that keeps the cost down for the clubs. Absolutely, Blake. Then it's like $150, $160 million bill to just buy the stadium. 99-year leases. It's got a condo at UBC. It's on a 99-year lease. It happens all
That's 8 owners from now, for those franchises.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's a problem for
There's no owner
owners.
looking at it going, well, but in 100 years.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. And then Save the Caps tweets at me, the focus needs to remain on the Whitecaps securing a management agreement. The province can't politically accept anything close to the assessed value. Also, the land value is specific to the zoning. Knocking it down and rezoning should significantly increase the value. You're quite right on the zoning side of things.
Personal opinions have been flooding into me after we talked about this on Monday, I believe, about,
Yes.
the cost, the assessed value is just so low. I've had and it doesn't mean the politicians agree, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me going, like, that, getting $250 million into the government's bank account is huge. And the province should be running to that, even though it seems small in the relative scale of the stadium. It seems
small because the renovation 15 years ago was $400+ million, nearly $500 million in and of itself. So if you want to cry over spilt milk and you want to say, I can't believe we put nearly $500 million into it and are only going to get, say, $225 if it's with the land, say $150 for it. Now, as Blake has talked about, sunk costs and depreciating assets, right?
Yeah. I renovated the kitchen 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares you did that.
Well, not only that, but it's a money-losing operation for the province year over year. So you got to factor that in as well.
And it's used. Like, you've had a lot of events because of those renovations. Like, that's why you did it.
Well, and the other thing, look, the province of British Columbia, the city of Vancouver, and BC Place Stadium have now hosted a World's Fair, Expo 86, a Winter Olympic Games, where the opening and closing ceremonies were in that stadium, and a FIFA World Cup. What else are you looking to host by way of major international events?
You've ticked all the boxes.
You've kind of ticked most of those, certainly the two biggest sporting ones. Unless the Summer Games is coming here.
Yes.
Then if you want to talk cost, we can talk cost.
I don't see that happening.
Right. Errors and omissions from Monday's program and beyond. Start with beyond. A few weeks ago, I mentioned the Major League Baseball trade deadline at the end of the month. It's Monday. It's into August. I guess it's at the beginning of next month, later this year. And then, Blake, you asked, are there any CFL teams that own their stadium? Technically, Princess Auto Stadium in Winnipeg is owned by Triple B Stadium, Inc., which is a corporation controlled by the Blue Bombers, but it is in partnership with the University of Manitoba. and the city, so it's not a clean-cut CFL team.
A little more
owns
akin to
this.
what we just talked about with the
Exactly.
lease. It's
Exactly.
partnerships, yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. We are live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. We will have a show tomorrow. No show Saturday or Friday. And thank you, of course, and for supporting the great community sponsors who support this show and allow us to do it as we do it. Keep it local.